Hi, everyone. Welcome to the podcast. Today I have on Gio, and he is here to tell us a story today.
Hey. Yeah, so I thought when you had asked me to touch base about this, I was like, what do I have so many stories, but I figured that the timing of this was really interesting for me because it actually is the same week that I've been back in Windsor for 10 years, having lived in Toronto previously. And just from making that jump to, you live like me, I was 19 and I'm like, I'm going to Toronto and I'll live there and like live that life and do that. And then I did it and was like, okay, I'm kind of done. And so coming back home, there was so much openness to what the potential could be or what I was going to accomplish. And now, in having it been a decade, I'm like, wow, it was all worth it. That thing that pushed me inside was like, it was worth the push.
The discomfort of moving back to Windsor?
Oh my God, there was so much discomfort because on paper, everything that was what I wanted to achieve and by moving to a bigger city, going to school at the school I went to, working in the industry that I did, I had like check. Like I did it all. The gap of, head to heart, that connection was completely not there. And so moving back to Windsor, it was this, okay, I think I want to go out on my own, start my own business, work for myself, but also moving back to Windsor, the discomfort of being in a place that when I was, 19, I was like, get me out of here. Can I swear on this?
Yeah.
Like, get me the fuck out of here. I can't wait to leave. And then 10 years later being like, oh God, now this thing that I thought I would never want to do again, AKA like living back home and where I grew up, came back to be. And I'm so happy that I listened to it.
Actually, that feels really familiar to me because when I was younger, I had a terrible relationship with my mother. And after I moved out, I was like, I'm never, ever living with her again. And lo and behold, I live with my mom.
Yeah.
But I think just like after having gained that life experience, because you and I have said before too, that Windsor felt like this like shitty, awful place and we hated it.
Mm-hmm.
But now being a little bit older, you're like, it's a nice town.
I like living here. Honestly, when I basically was telling my friends back in Toronto, and how Toronto, I love that city. It made me who I am. It's part of my, the quilt of who Gio is. But when I was telling my friends, this is what I want, I'm going to go back to Windsor. A couple of them were like, what are you doing? Your whole life is here. You have a career, everything was what it was positioned to be, what I had basically wanted. And I was like, I know, but it's not hitting the way that I thought it would. And something in me is calling me to go back. And we said this on my podcast where we talked about the attitude of, oh, Windsor's shit. Mm-hmm. Or Windsor is like, there's not as much opportunity, but 100% it is all about your vision and your attitude. I truly believe that. And me having brought that with me is the reason I'm where I'm at today, like hands down.
So you said you had a career in Toronto. Is that like a regular 9-to-5 job?
Yeah, I was working at an agency in marketing, specifically experiential marketing. And don't get me wrong, that job, that 4 years that I worked there was the foundation of everything that I'm doing today. I learned so much, but I felt more, I don't know, I've always been like, I feel limited working for others. I find that I have such vision and I don't mean that an ego, like, oh, look at me. Like, I don't mean it like that at all. It's more just, I just have a lot of ideas and I love to work directly with people. And I found that having the structure or that framework of office life was, once again, just wasn't hitting. And so for me, I'm like, what can I do? Having no idea what I was going to do. It was just, let me just follow a feeling and go for it. And I'm, once again, very thankful that everything worked out.
Yeah. So what was it like to start the business?
I just felt like this, like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm in the dark. And it was like step by step. I think it was, for me, I feel the way I live my life is, yes, there's some planning, but it's mostly feeling. It's like, what feels right? What is my intuition telling me? What's the direction I want to go in based on how I'm perceiving where I'm at? And so in the beginning, it was struggle bus. I'm not going to lie, because it was, I'm learning how to build a website for myself. I'd never done that. And when I started, originally Giografik was apparel, like a clothing company. And I was like, I'm going to make cool shirts and all this stuff. And I had collections and all sorts of stuff, but I don't think I gave it enough runway or time for it to really pick up, because I was not making money right away. And so that there's a fear in me that I skipped it and I said, no, this isn't doing it quick enough. So then I went into branding because I was like, what can I do that will bear fruit faster? And so I did that. And then that's what I've been doing now for almost 10 years, another 10 years from. Yeah.
Yeah. And what does that mean that you do branding?
So I work as a brand strategist. And so for me, I work with companies to basically take their vision, how they speak, their communication, and bring it to life in order to communicate and connect and make impact with their intended audiences. I know that sounds so like robot speak, but it really is what it is. And a lot of times I think my approach with what I do is I'm like a people person. So for me, the strategy around it is, especially with a lot of small businesses that I've worked with, especially here in Windsor, is who are you? What's your intention? What are your goals? Who are you trying to connect with? What matters to you? And taking that and distilling it into a brand, specifically like, web, how you communicate online, just the overall appearance to reflect that. And to me, that's like, they go hand in hand. I don't think it's not necessarily like I don't know. My approach is much different than, we're looking at a multi-billion-dollar conglomerate who's investing millions of dollars into research. It's a much more grassroots approach.
And this is obviously creative work, right? Is there something else that you do to also scratch that creative itch outside of your branding work?
I'm really putting effort into that more than I have over the last year. For me, I've been so focused on my identity as Giografik, and I've lost a bit of that, where the roots come from as far as my creative passion. What are the origins of Geo? I loved to draw as a kid. I would paint. I took art classes up until I graduated high school, and then went to art school for design. And so now I'm trying to honor that original Geo and taking time to paint and draw and do that outside of work. That is not, oh, hey, there's a brief. Can I get to this? Or there's a payout or a client involved. It's just for me. And so I'm not doing it every week. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to be like the balance, I figured it out, but it's, you know what I mean? It's this thing of, okay, I want to make sure that at least a couple times a month I'm taking time to do that, because otherwise, what are we doing? It can't all just be for money, because then you start to lose yourself.
Yeah. I'm on the same journey. I feel like expressing creativity is such a thing that, we've been missing for so long. I've been missing. I'm sure other people have it, but it's a different kind of fulfillment too, when you're able to express yourself creatively.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%. To me, there's like a Zen state that I get into. I went away recently, and a friend of mine who I met up with we were in Thailand, and she had brought her watercolors and a bunch of stuff to paint. And I spent hours that week that we were together sitting at the table, overlooking the water, just painting. And the Zen state that I would get into, where I would just be in it, it reminded me of when I was a kid and I'd be in my room, door locked, blasting pop music, and just in the zone of just creating and this outpour of whatever is within me. And it sounds so cheesy, but it's like actually what it is. Anybody who's an artist at home can fully vibe with that. And that was something where it really did it put back in my head, you need to do this, do this, balance out the digital, because that's all I do with clients. It's all digital. It's so different.
And it is creative work when you're doing it digitally too, but I feel like it's just different when you're at a screen. It's so different.
It's not the same. There's such a disconnect. It's like, even when they say, if you're writing your intentions for the year or your goals or whatever, it's like, you could type it out, but write it, physically write it. There's something about the connection of your mind to that tactile expression, or whatever you want to call it, to make it more legitimate in whatever it is that we want to call the higher power. I don't know. To me, that's, if I'm writing goals, I'm let me physically write that shit down.
Writing is just how things come to life, I think.
Yeah. Not to sound cheese, but manifest.
Yes, exactly.
I'm talking around it.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
To go back to your move, when you moved back to Windsor, did you already have friends that were still here, or was it kind of like you were starting fresh and it was just, what was it like?
I have friends here. So I left at 19, and I have some of my best friends who are still here. And coming back, it was like a way to reunite with a version of me that existed prior to living in a big city. And I think the last 10 years has been that recalibration of those two versions of myself, where there's my roots and then what I picked up living somewhere else that was completely different from Windsor. And then coming home, and it was this, like I said, this recalibration of how do I find this like middle ground of what I can take from that experience and bring forward in my life, and then what I can leave behind. So coming back, I think the small group of people, family included, that were like my core, they're still very much alive and well in my life today. And it's like a grounding thing. I don't know. That sounds, once again, sounds so cheesy, but it's like a grounding energy of the early versions of Gio they're still kicking, you know, if that makes any sense. Yeah.
Yeah. What I'm being reminded of when you're talking is like when I paint and I share it, it feels like I'm sharing a part of my inner child, and it feels very, very vulnerable. But it feels like when I'm able to talk to those kinds of friends and do those creative activities, it's honoring the inner child and like the inner happy. And that's like, I think that's a part of the flow too, when you can like satisfy that part.
Listen, I think that as adults, especially in the world that we live in now, it's so easy to be jaded by anything because everything around us is telling us, be depressed, be scared, you know, hate each other. Like there's so much negative energy. So if you can harness that and really live that as an adult, I think you can figure out how to deal till the end of your life. You know what I mean? Where, I don't know, I think a lot of people, literally this morning, I was getting my hair cut and my barber, we were chatting and we were talking about something about age. And I made a comment. I was like, oh yeah, like, because I'm going to be 38 this year. And he was like, what? It's like 38. He's like, you have such a like young energy. And he's like, I don't mean you're immature, just that there's like a youthful energy to you. And I'm like, yeah, why? Or just because, and I'm not old by any means, don't get me wrong. But it's this thing of like, why am I going to be like, oh, you know, all those, I gotta hunker down and act like an old lady. Like, that's just not the vibe that I want to be. Like, life is, let's live it. Let's have fun. Let's be, you know, all the things. And so that's one of the best compliments I get, I think, is your energy is like bright. And to me, I'm like, yeah, like great. I love that. Comment on, you know, other things I don't care. But if the energy comment is always something that I'm like, let me just put that in my back pocket to remind myself like, hey, you're a good kid.
Yeah, that's a great compliment. The world needs people that are fully expressed and like living and sharing their art. I think that's how the world improves.
Yes.
And that's why I love doing this podcast, because I get to interview so many people that I think are fully expressing themselves. And I think that's what I want to be as well. I want to fully express myself. It's a journey for me. I'm learning. But to have examples like you doing it so beautifully, I think is, like I said, an example, a great example. I don't know how else to say it.
Yeah.
But it's amazing. And it's beautiful to see that people can be living and doing the things that they love, making money, making a living, and also be happy, you know?
1000%. I think that it's so easy for us to focus on what we don't have. And I noticed that trend in myself where a couple of years ago, that's all I focused on was, I don't have this. I want to achieve that. And of course we need those benchmarks to work towards, to push ourselves. But at the same time, I think to the things that truly make me feel engaged in my life, I have it all. I had a moment, I want to say it was within the last few months. And I had a night where I was alone at my place, and you know, you just get those moments where you start to like overthink everything. And I got so in my head about the direction of my life and just started doubting everything. And I had to sit myself and speak out loud to myself. And anyone who, you know, would have hovered and seen you would have been like, this bitch is crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm sitting there and I'm like, Gio, literally everything that you are working towards, all the things that you were trying to bring forward into your life 10 years ago, if you look back at what you were envisioning for your life, you have all of those things. You have, you know, you have created this life. You own your own home. You have a loving partner. Your family, your close relationships are so engaged and loving, and you have the people in your life are truly a reflection of who you are as a person. Anything that you're stressed about now, because I'm anyone who knows me, I'm like, I don't ever stop working. I'm like obsessed with just constantly keeping the train going. And it's like anything that you're stressed about now, relax, because look at what you've been able to do in 10 years. And in another 10 years, whatever you're envisioning for yourself is going to happen because you're doing it. You're putting in the work. So shut the fuck up. Stop stressing out. And it was like the best moment of me checking in with myself to be like relax, you know?
Yeah.
And so anyway, I have those moments, and it really does, from 10 years ago, moving back to Windsor, I'm like, I've evolved so much, and it's really nice to have those check-ins with yourself.
Yeah. Because I mean, probably similarly to you, when we achieve a goal, you celebrate, but it's for like 2 seconds. And then you're like, okay, what's the next goal?
Oh, not never.
Did you say 0 seconds?
No, like minuscule,
Oh, okay.
like a minuscule amount of seconds where
Yeah.
it's like, what's next? That has been my whole MO of life for a while. And now I'm like, okay, let's take a minute and be like,
Yeah. Yeah, that was my question, but you kind of answered it. I was going to say, do you stop and smell the roses?
I'm trying to more now in my life than I ever have. I don't know. There's like a part of me, I think it's like a young version of myself where I'd like to over celebrate yourself is almost like not cute. You know what I mean? Like just be like, yes, I did this. I'm really happy and proud, and move on. But I think now I'm acknowledging that like you're doing this on your own. You know, you're making this happen by yourself because of what's in your head and what you're wanting to like bring to reality, and not just being like, yeah, whatever, it's nothing, and then moving on, because then what are we doing here? If you can't do it for yourself, what's the fucking point?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if anyone would say that it's not cute to celebrate yourself.
I know now more than I'm saying earlier version of me, where back in the day, it's like, you don't want to think too highly of yourself, or you don't want to have too much ego around, like, look what I did, you know? And I don't know, I almost like prefer, and not that I need this, but it's almost like I'd rather hear it externally, which is so fucked to say. Like, you know, I want to hear from other people. It's not even that. Now more than ever, I'm not the one to be like, look what I did, you know, because it's like, who cares? Like, just do it and show it versus talk about it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I know it is. I can see that. Like, you don't want to just dwell on anything because there's always something else too.
Yeah.
And like life just keeps going. Although we do have to stop and smell the roses sometimes.
Yeah.
It's a balance.
I know.
It's a delicate dance of being like too corny and not corny enough.
Sometimes I struggle with that because I am very earnest, and it's especially on graphic content. Like I had a feedback from somebody once, be like, you're almost like too complimentary of your guests. And I'm like, I hear you, but I'm going to keep that because it's part of what I love. I love talking to people about the things that drive them, the things that make them passionate. And there's so many amazing people doing awesome things in the world. Why not let them know, you know? But I don't know. To me, and so I do it for others all the time.
But not too much yourself.
No, because then it's like, I don't know. There's like a cringe factor to it. Be like, you know?
I feel like I might have mentioned this to you on your podcast, but when I catch myself being too down on myself, I then try to switch it and talk to myself sarcastically. Did I say that?
No.
So if I feel like I'm being dumb, I used to tell myself I'm dumb. I mean, I still do that sometimes.
We all do it.
But now I'll be like, oh, I'm the smartest person ever. Like, look at this thing that I just did. Mm-hmm. And you might be saying it sarcastically, but apparently your brain doesn't register the sarcasm. So like, you're not really complimenting yourself, but your brain doesn't hear at least the insult.
Yeah.
And it's a little bit better, maybe.
I mean, there have been moments where I'm getting better at snapping myself out of the spiral state where, you know, like you just start to spiral. And I've had so many moments where I'm like in the mirror, Gio, you're fine. Everything's fine. And I'm really just telling myself like, just fucking snap out of it. You know what I mean? Like everything's fine. And usually that helps tremendously because.
So what is your favorite part about Windsor now?
If I'm doing the comparison game from my previous life to now, is the pace. I think it's more accessible. I think it's slower. I'm able to feel more connected, I think, in general, when it comes to just my day-to-day. And this is such a cheesy thing, but it's also so much more affordable. I just can I don't feel as stressed living and existing. The energy is just more palatable. And so for me, it's allowing me to, I think when we live in a much slower pace and energy, I think if we are putting in the effort to feel or to just be more connected to ourselves, I think it's more accessible than when you're like constantly going, everyone's like, get the fuck out of my way. And like I got things to do. And you know what I mean? That energy is like, that's
Yeah.
overwhelming. And so when you can just vibe, I find it more, I wouldn't be the version of me that I am today without the slower pace.
I agree. I think it's really valuable. I mean, that's how people relax, isn't it? Just slow breathing and the slow pace. Like you can't be relaxed and be fast paced all the time.
No, I'm not an Energizer bunny. I thought I was for about 10 years, but now I'm like, no. Like FOMO. I'm now JOMO, the joy of missing out. I love. I'm like, I think we actually did talk about this. Like, I'm so happy to not do things. It's really the best.
And it's a double-edged sword because at a certain point, I'm like, I think I'm too comfortable in my house. I need to get out.
This to me is like, wow, I left the house this week. Great. So thank you, Tina.
Yeah. I think the only thing that Windsor is missing for me is the walkability. I miss that so much.
That's so on the money. Yeah. I just wish that I could walk more.
You can't walk anywhere.
Because nothing is close. My family lives in Amherstburg. I would never see them. How would I see them? Yeah. But no, I agree. It's really difficult to walk around. And then if you're close to anything walkable, then that's like your bubble is that, that 8-block radius. It's tiny. Yeah.
And that was my favorite activity, I think, when I was living in Toronto. You just go outside. You don't need a goal. You don't need anything. You just start walking and it's incredible. Anywhere you go, it's amazing.
That's literally, you're just bringing me back to living there. And just like back in the day, I'd just like smoke a joint and like just run my errands on Saturdays. It was like the best thing. It was my favorite thing on the weekend, just like vibing and walking around the city. Now I don't think I could ever do that.
It's a good contrast because you need, both to be able to appreciate what you have.
Oh, 100%.
And I think that's true for a lot of things where we get really comfortable and then we forget that, this is actually a privilege. And like, I know sometimes it takes losing something to actually realize that, I should have appreciated it. But I think that's why we need the contrast. That's why I like winter too, because like it makes the summer so much better.
This is the thing. Personally, I come from Mediterranean stock, so I'm over winter. I never want to see snow for the rest of my life. I know what you mean. I think there's a reason for the seasons. Truly is that, and I learned this in high school with a teacher that I had in English, and he said, a lot of themes in writing and in storytelling is about death and rebirth. And not to sound cheesy once again, but we have to go through that like death period or that slower period or that time of contemplation where the energy is slower in order for the rebirth or the new chapter or whatever to really hit and to really connect with us. Because otherwise, what are we doing? You can't just constantly be at the same. That's not the energy. Once again, going back to what we said before we hopped into this, is working with the energies of the world. We're meant to slow down. I think the winter is meant for times to go inwards and to be a bit more introspective in order for us to evolve. I don't know. But
yeah. Whatever. No. And as you were talking, it's funny that for me, all of my cultural programming has come from like other people. And with every death and rebirth, I just get closer and closer to my inner child. And it's like she was right all along. She knew all of the things and we just tried to brainwash it all away.
Yeah.
And now I'm just peeling it all back and like, oh, well, maybe I just want to sit and paint. That's it.
And like, what's the harm in that? There's so many people doing so many things in the world. What is wrong with that? Like truly, nothing.
What are you working on these days?
Okay. So right now I'm actually going on the topic of the going inwards. I'm currently streamlining a lot of my processes internally when it comes to the business. I think up until now, I've been definitely in like this mindset of freelance, and I'm trying to restructure it in a way that is much more, okay, this is a business. Let me approach it that way. So that has been a big project of mine where I'm just trying to like change my own, brand positioning, how I show up in the world, both as an entrepreneur and as just Gio, the individual. Right now I'm in the middle of production for season 2 of graphic content, which is very exciting. Catch Tina on an episode as well. So that has been like a big project of mine that honestly, like we said, I'm not making any money off of it yet, but the goal right now is to, I don't know, like I just wanted this platform to have people tell their stories. I genuinely love storytelling. I think that's why we connected over Tales of the City. Seeing you starting your own venture and you're like, I don't have any backing. I'm just going to do this on my own. I see a potential gap and I'm going to fill it. I think that that's admirable. And to me, that is the whole MO behind graphic content, is to talk about why people do what they do. What do you feel is something that is missing in this world? And why is this thing inside of you pulling you along? And to me, that has been something that, I don't know, I just did it selflessly. It was not like I want people to hear my voice. Who cares? I'm just a conduit. To me, I look at it as there's so many people out in the world doing amazing things that are not famous, that are not, it's not a numbers game where I'm inviting people on who have these huge followings. It's like, I just genuinely think that these individuals are awesome and I want to talk to them.
Yeah.
And whenever they say yes, I'm very like, oh my God. Like, I don't know. To me, it's like, I have such a small audience that if people say, yeah, sure, I'll do it, I'm like, oh my God, it makes me feel like that little kid that's like, I'm being like accepted. You know what I mean? That sounds so cheesy, but
it really is cool when people trust you.
Yes.
And have no idea what they're walking into. Because for my podcast, it's super casual. Mm-hmm. And most of the time when I'm interviewing someone, like, we haven't talked about what's going to happen. I just show up and we start talking. And It's like, I trust you. You'll be fine. I trust me. And we'll both be fine and it'll be great.
My favorite was when I mentioned to you, I'm like, so like, because my process is the opposite. It's like it's structured, because for me, it's mostly I want to talk about what they're doing. So that way it's almost like promotional, right? So I want to make sure I'm asking them questions to get them to talk about the things they want to talk about. The approaches are so different, but the intention is the same, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, I think we both really want to elevate voices. And I'm sure that you agree. I think everyone has a story.
Yeah.
And they all need to be heard. I think a lot of people don't get the opportunity to share their story, which is really sad. And I just want to see people sharing, because I think when we talk and we share, it just helps the world move forward.
100%. And that's what, like, not to be whatever, but that's like what we need in today's world, is that versus shutting people down and shutting people off, and which is like, this weird tension that's happening right now. I feel like it's the impact that we are making in the grand scheme of things is minuscule, but it's still there. Mm-hmm. And that is enough to make you want to keep doing it. So, if you have an idea, if you want to do it, just do it. Just go for it. There's the only thing that's stopping you is you. Mm-hmm. Like, really.
Yeah. And you're right. Even if I only have like 200 subscribers on YouTube or something like that. But
more than me.
Even if it is a small number, if you impact one person, they impact one person. Yeah. It just compounds like crazy.
Oh yeah. And I forget, was it Seth Godin who was saying it? I read somewhere where it's like, you could have like 10,000 followers, but a lot of them are like passive. When it comes to engaging with you and your content and your message, they could be very passive, but you just need that core, like 100, like really devout following. And that's enough for there to be some impact, whether it's like financial or whatever. You just need that. You don't need everyone to be like up your ass being like, you're amazing. You know what I mean? Like, that's all it takes. And to me, I'd rather that. It's like friends, like having like 100,000 friends. Like, who cares? People don't really know you, but that core group that really gets you and makes you feel like that inner child can be at ease. That's the shit. That's where the magic is, right?
Yeah, I agree. If people are enjoying this conversation and they want to find more about you, where can they find you?
You can check me out at giografik.com, Giografik. And you can also check out the podcast at Graphic Content. And I'm on Instagram, TikTok, etc. Well, TikTok, I don't know, but
we'll have all the links in the show description.
Yeah,
it'll all be there. Any final messages to leave people with?
I don't know. I've been talking on my ass.
One of the questions I've been started to ask people, I think I stole it from someone. Mm-hmm. If you had a billboard and you wanted to put a few words on there for everyone to see and read, what would your billboard say?
Okay, this is going to sound, once again, so cheesy, but it's just like where I'm trying to operate from in all aspects of my life right now. And it's help others step into their greatness. Like, genuinely, that is where I'm trying to just be. And I think that's my like sign off.
I love it. I agree.